to be a part of this staff. I've been here roughly about 24 hours in Columbia, and I've coached at a number of different places, as you guys obviously can read where all I've been. But when I walked in this building, my chin dropped last night or yesterday afternoon. This is a unbelievable facility, and then you can feel the energy as soon as I walked in the building, from the players to the staff, obviously to the coaches, and it has been a long, a really fun 24 hours for me already in this building, and a long process to get here. But I'm here now, and I'm super excited about it. I'm looking forward to meeting all my players. I've met some of them so far, but to have some individual meetings set up with those guys over the next few days, and being around them in the weight room and all those different things to get to learn about those guys. I think one of the things that we have unique is our spring practice a little bit later on. Last few jobs I've taken, you had a quick turnaround to spring practice. So I think one of the things, one of my mantras that I really always talk about when I take jobs, it's about developing the person before the player. And I think until you're able to truthfully understand each player, and you're never going to get the best out of them as a player overall. And obviously we got to have a cohesive group, ones that are thinking all the same, all seeing the same, and those sort of things. And that's what you got to create. And that doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. Every place I've been, you had an opportunity to develop. And once you're able to develop people, then I think you'll see a product that you guys will be very proud of here at the University of South Carolina in the offensive line and offense in general. With that being said, I would be hesitant to say I'm really happy for my kids, my own children, my oldest son, Nick, and Nathan, my middle son, and my daughter, Natalie, who are excited for their dad also. So with that being, I'll open it up for questions.
Michael Espy with the first one.
Hey, Coach, just kind of going off of that, what's this process been like for your family now moving to Columbia?
Well, my oldest son is actually at Marshall University. He's a baseball pitcher for them. His name is Nick, and my middle son is Nathan, and he plays tight end at East Tennessee State. And my daughter's a senior in high school, and she's a dancer, being recruited pretty heavily across the country in the dance world. And so we'll see what happens with her in the very near future, where she may end up. But they're all three very excited. They are coaches' kids. They are athletes, and I always tease my two oldest boys that the daughter's the best athlete of all of them, and she is. She's special in a lot of ways.
Dick Cox.
Hey, Greg, I'm Dick Cox with Lindy Sports and Cox Sports Broadcasting, and welcome to South Carolina. You're a new guy in our area now. So what is the most important thing that you want people to know about you? Well,
I think the most important thing people know about me is I'm a family man. I love my children, and I'm going to love these players. I'm going to love these coaches just like they're my family, because they are. And I'm a tough, fair coach that I heard Coach Day, who I've had the privilege to work with 2 out of the last 3 years, that you got to reach down deep inside of people and you got to bring the best out of them. And they're all different, but you got to get it done. And that's your job as a coach. And your job as a coach to bring that out of them and develop them and move them forward, graduate them, and hopefully they have that opportunity to play this game for some money. And but at the end of the day, I'm a tough, fair person and family man who loves my children, I love my players, and I really enjoy being around people that love the game of football. If you don't love the game of football, probably me and you're not going to get along very well.
Mike Yuba.
Hey, Greg, Mike, you from Watch Fox Sports. My question is, when you get to a point like this, obviously spring football is a couple weeks away. I know you're just trying to get acclimated to everything, probably getting the office, still getting together. How do you get this offense close together as quickly as possible and be able to build that rapport? Because I know it's tough sometimes, but in terms of offenses, getting things going.
It goes back to relationships. You got to build relationships. Just like I heard Coach Beamer talk about, I ran out of the offensive meeting to come down here and visit with you guys, and I was right in the middle of a thought, and I told him to hold it, and I'll be right back as soon as I get done. It has been absolutely a pleasure to be in that room this morning. We got in here early this morning. I actually got my walk in, got a little steam in at about 6 o'clock this morning, and was juiced and ready to go when we started. But it's still all about relationships. Building the trust between one another, within a group, within a team, within an organization, to be the best you can possibly be.
Hale McGranahan.
Hey, Coach, I'm Hale McGranahan. I work for the 24/7 site covering the team. I'm just curious with Coach Beamer's description of you as a recruiter. He referred to you as a hellacious recruiter. I guess what's sort of your approach that way? And I guess it would probably mirror some of the things you were saying about building relationships and that kind of stuff.
Well, as you can see, the amount of people we've hired here, I'm the oldest probably. So I've been around the block a lot. I know a lot of people. I've kind of recruited and coached in just about every state around this area. So I know a lot of people, and it's unbelievable the amount of texts that I've gotten from all high school coaches in Georgia and North Carolina, a few even here in South Carolina, obviously in Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Oklahoma, Texas. Just excited about the opportunity that I have to come here and to be with some of the other coaches that they've had relationships with, or I've been through and recruited their school, maybe one person over a 6-year period. As many of you know, I was at Tennessee for a long period of time, and I probably went to 40 states in my 7 years there recruiting different people, Hawaii, Oregon, California, wherever. It doesn't matter to me. I think as long as you're just truthful with people, right? And a lot of people don't like the truth, but if you're just truthful with people and they trust you, then you have a great opportunity to get them. And obviously you got to have facilities and you got to have traditions and all that stuff. And that's all in place. So now it's about the relationship of them getting to know me even further.
Colin Taylor.
Colin Taylor from the Rivals Network here. I'm curious. I mean, you've been around Marcus Satterfield before. He was obviously a GA when you were at Tennessee. I'm curious, just how do your philosophy in terms of coaching offense kind of line up with him, and how cool is it to finally be back with him and see how far he's grown?
Well, let me say this. It's outstanding. I mean, from the minute he called me, a couple of weeks ago, whenever he got the job, I think, in fact, he was driving here or something. He called me up and we were talking about protection as he was driving here, about what my thoughts were on this and that and this and that. And then, for about a week, I know he gave me my space because I had some things that I needed to take care of. And, I've been here for 24 hours and we've probably talked ball for 12 of those 24. And it's exciting. It really is. I think we're the same kind of mentality kind of guy. We both want tough, physical people that love football, and we'll figure the rest of the stuff out.
John Del Bianco.
Hey, Coach, John Del Bianco with the 24 Sports site. I work with Hale. He had just asked you a question a couple of questions ago. You had worked previously with Luke Day at Marshall. Just can you give maybe Gamecock fans a sense of what the strength coach is like here at South Carolina? I know they've gotten to hear from him a couple of times the last week, but can you share some of your experience with him?
Well, what you've heard from him is what he is 24/7. I think he talks in his sleep. I really do. I think he's a guy that he will get the best out of each individual person that he comes in contact with, whether that's his own staff or that's the players on our football team, the rest of the coaches, whatever it is. He is he is a master of those types of things, and obviously very knowledgeable when it comes to the strength and conditioning world. I don't tend to think I know everything about that world at all, but I know that the teams that we have had that I've worked with are tough physical teams, and I would anticipate that that will be the branding of things that we do. We're going to be tough, physical, and fast, and I think that's what you'll see. He's a great human being. He's got a great family. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got a son, and he's got a daughter, I think, that just turned 5 a couple days ago. And so I'm excited for him, really excited for him, and excited about some of the other staff members that he also has down there in the weight room.
Thank you.
Lou at the State.
Hey, Coach. Lou Bezak with the State. What do you look for in an offensive lineman when you're recruiting them and when you have them? What characteristics do you look for?
Well, certainly you got to have some size, and there's all these measurables out there that the person's got to be this or got to be that. Certainly, yeah, you got to look at that. You can't have 10 6'1", 6'2" kids playing, but there's some kids out there that maybe are that size that can compete, but you can't have a whole room full of them. So you got to have some length, all right? You got to have some mass in the chest and the back end, and then you got to have kids. Defenses just don't play base defense anymore. They don't just line up and here they are and that sort of thing. So you got to have kids that can think and react and play fast. All right, that help. We'll try to help them with scheme to get that going. But at the end of the day, you got to have guys that can play really, really fast and physical. And then the number one thing I'm going to ask every coach that we recruit, any offensive lineman, does this guy love football? And if he loves football, then he's got a shot. He's got a shot. Doesn't mean he's going to do it, but he's got a shot. But if a kid is iffy about whether he is willing to pay the price to be what it does or what you have to play college football, then you're not recruiting the right person to start with. And then, academically, kids have got to be able to communicate. They don't necessarily have to be great students, but they have to be great communicators, up front. So guys that can communicate, guys that have a little bounce in their step, obviously the more athletic they possibly can be. I know that's a number of different things, but the love of the game of football and physical traits are the top two things.
Josh Kendall.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey, Josh.
Can you give us a 90-second version in language that we'll understand of your conversation with Marcus about protections and schemes and just your philosophically where you start, whether it's zone blocking or whatever, in kind of layman's terms?
Truthfully, we started with just line calls this morning. How we converse about a combination block, whether it's a zone play or a gap scheme play or whatever it might be. We started from base one, how we converse with that. And I threw up, 40 some calls up there this morning. And like 37 of the 47 were exactly the same with what he knows and what he understands. So that worked out pretty good. So I'll learn whatever we got to learn. My brain is pretty powerful, and I have the ability to learn and adapt. So I will do whatever we need to do. If it's easier on the players, we'll do that. If it's easier on our staff, we'll do that. Whatever makes this thing work, right? We're going to do. It's not like this is what I'm doing. This is it. We can't do anything differently. It's none of that. So I'm very adaptable to whatever we need to do. I've been in a number of different offenses throughout my time. But I've also been in an offense that is very, very similar to what the base of this thing is going to probably look like. Very similar.
Cam Gaskins.
Hey, Coach, this is Cam Gaskins with ABC Columbia. I'm not sure how much film you've seen on the offensive weapons you guys are going to be protecting, but when you see a quarterback like Luke Doty, a running back like Kevin Harris, how exciting is that as an offensive line coach to know you've got two athletes back there that are going to take advantage of every inch you guys can give them?
Sometimes the plays that I like are the plays that we don't have to block anybody, And no, I'm just kidding. But obviously having great skill people around you, whether it's the quarterback position, tight ends, wide receivers or running backs, obviously can certainly make an offensive line maybe even look better than it might be. We know this. When we go into this thing, we're going to know what our job is. And our job is to have hats on the people that we're supposed to be able to block, right? And we're going to either read or the person that's not unblocked, right? We as coaches sometimes try to make the game too difficult. And it's really, I'll take this from Coach Day, right? It's really about putting your hands on people and moving them to where they don't want to go, all right? Whether that's in the run game or the pass game, that's the object. And so the bottom line, there's 5 guys that have the ability to block 5 people over there on defense, and that's what we're anticipating doing. And the skill guys, we could put the ball out in space and hopefully make some people miss and those types of things. And certainly the skill positions can help the offensive line.
Phil Kornbluth.
Yeah, hey, Coach. It's Phil Kornbluth with Sports Talk Media Network here in South Carolina. From a technique standpoint and a fundamental standpoint, what you like to teach your linemen, what are some of those that you prefer? And is there anything about your technique and philosophy that is unique that maybe other offensive line coaches don't do?
I think you can make it too complicated on players. We try to be as simple as possible and try to get the best results we can by being very simple. And I give them 4 basic concepts, and that's we know what the snap count is, so that's called get off, right? The get off on the snap, not being a domino effect where some people are faster than others. We want to get off at the same time. The next one's how we strike, and that's how we block people. And we're going to try to get our hands on people as fast as we can. That's in the run and the pass. And the next one is body position. Okay, body position entails a lot of different things. That's our footwork, our landmark, the read of the running back, all those types of things. And then the 4th thing is something that you can control also, and that's finish. So from a philosophical standpoint, if we do those 4 things, get off, and we have great strike and great body position, and we finish, I think what you're going to see is a group of guys that can continue to get better. If we start talking all these little things, and little things do matter, sometimes you can complicate and make it very unclear to a player. So you want to be very concise, very detailed. And if they just do these 4 things, they can almost grade themselves. Does that make sense? So a guy's in there watching film and he's studying film of himself. And one of the questions that players ask you is, how can I get better, coach? Well, I'll just say this. All right, let's go watch your film. How was your get off? Good. All right. How was your strike? How did you hit him? Good, coach. Excellent. All right. How's your body position? Not so good. Well, there we go. There's how you can get better. That's how you can get better on that play. Maybe my footwork needs to be a little bit better, all right, or my body position to be able to finish a player, all right, needs to be better. I think that answered your question, Phil. Is that good?
That was excellent, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
All right. We got 2 more.
I could talk for hours on hours about what you just asked. And I don't think we have hours upon hours.
Dick
Hey, you can see I'm a little bit passionate about offensive line play.
Get it. Yes, sir.
Dick Cox with the next question.
Coach Beamer has put together a very unique staff with wise veteran coaches, a lot of young, energetic coaches, everything in common, it looks like, with family values and role models and faith being important right there. I know you've only been in town 1 day, but just talk about it. It seems like everybody, too, has worked together at one point and all, but just talk about the staff that you are now a part of.
Well, when I over the last period of time I've been talking to Coach Beamer, well, first of all, I know who he is as a person. I know who his father is. I've spent some time with his father, in the past, and I know what he is all made up of. And when I look at jobs and when I have opportunities to take jobs over the years, obviously you want to look at the leader, right? You want to look at the leader. What is he all about? What is his values all about? And those, and then obviously I know Marcus, and then I did my research on the other people. I didn't know Des Kitchens. I mean, I know who he is. Everybody knows who he is, but I didn't really know him. So I called some people to talk about it. Step, man, wow. He's a very energetic, very, very good person. And Coach Kimmery is a well-known high school coach that me personally didn't recruit at school, but I know some other people that did, knew what kind of people it was. So I did my homework. And when I knew all that stuff was lining up, I knew if the offer came, it was going to be really, really simple. And the answer was going to be yes. Okay. So that, with that being said, that's why I wanted to be here. There were some other opportunities out there, in our profession. Could have waited around for a couple other opportunities, this or that. But I knew when this all lined up, this is the place that I wanted to be. All right. I wanted to be with this group of people led by Coach Beamer and led by Coach Satterfield on offense. And listen, I know a lot of those guys on defense competed against them over the last few years. All right. And Coach White is an excellent football coach. Always was a challenge for me to get ready for in my time at Marshall. So excellent football group, excellent football minds, excellent people, and certainly learning some of the support staff people that I didn't know as well. But I mean, gosh, I can't ask for anything else more than what I've already received in my 24 hours there.
You got time for two more, Colin, then Hale.
Coach Adkins, I guess you mentioned being passionate about offensive line play. I'm just curious, as you begin to evaluate this roster and as the season goes on, how do you measure progress with this group? How do you measure if your unit's doing well and you've been able to kind of keep teams in games?
Well, I think that's a pretty extended question for 24 hours being here. I don't know every player by name yet. All right. So the first things first, we got to start inside out, and we've got to start with learning the players. And once I get to know the players, then I get to know their skill set. Then I get to figure out what position they might start out and play. And then I figure out who can learn what and how does each guy learn. So there's a lot of different things that go on. But as a base standard, those four things that I talked about will be how we start this process of who's making progress and who's not. And if we can't do those four things, then, we'll be in trouble anyway. So, but if we can do those four things and we can show progress doing that by the end of whatever spring practice, then certainly I'll have a great feel for what's going on, who we have, and what kind of pieces are going to work together for our offensive line. It might be, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many guys can actually snap the ball yet, to be a center. I don't know how many guys can play left tackle. I don't know how many guys can play right tackle. What I do know is we have some guys, and we have some returning players that have played some football. And I'd be anxious to continue to learn and watch some film from last year just to see what their skill sets are in a different type of offense. But still, you'll be able to see a skill set there that will have a starting point, obviously, and to move forward with. We'll see what that holds in the future.
The last question goes to Hale.
Coach, just going back to Coach White and what you were saying about preparing for his defenses and playing against them, what can you share about his system and what we can expect to see from that?
I think just the same thing that you've heard probably from every coach who's walked up here. Tough and physical. That's what I saw. Guys that like to play the game, guys that flew around, guys that can make plays in open space, just a well-coached team, very, a group that you didn't feel like you had a lot of advantages on. They were going to make you work for your yardage and for your touchdowns against his teams over the last couple of years that I've competed against them.
All right. I think that is it, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
everybody joining.
Thank you, Steve-O.
Thanks, Coach Fink.
All right, guys. Watch that schedule for this afternoon, and then 3:30, Coach is on Feinbaum if you're interested in listening to that.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve-O.
Yes. Yeah, or just like
How's the back, Steve-O? Can you tie your shoes yet?
I can. Getting a little better every day. 6 weeks today removed, so getting better.
It's good to hear.
I'll be good for spring ball.
expect to see you out there pushing that lawnmower here pretty soon, because that, that Zoy's just starting to take off.
It's 70 degrees yesterday. Should have been out there.
Yep.
Coach Fink, you don't by chance have an update on when that roster may be out, do you?
I didn't hear that, Johnny.